The world is now on the brink of a clash between two superpowers. A closed-door meeting in Beijing has shaken world politics. US and China, Trump and Xi Jinping, smiles outside, but inside, the fire of a power struggle. We are starting right there today because that quote, it absolutely nails the high-stakes collision unfolding right in front of us. We're not just looking at standard diplomacy anymore. We are watching a rapid escalation between the United States and China that literally threatens to rewrite the entire global order. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're jumping right into an urgent, documentary-style deep dive into this collision of global giants and tracking exactly where these new battle lines are being drawn right before our eyes. I mean, just look at the global headlines flashing lately. It's like a warning ticker. We've got escalating Taiwan tensions, a massive AI and chip war, extreme military warnings, the Iran crisis spilling over, crippling economic fear, and the dawn of a future Cold War. So let's connect the dots here. Starting with Section 1, the epicenter, inside the closed-door meeting. It's a pretty stark contrast. When Donald Trump and Xi Jinping met recently, cameras were flashing, hands were shaken, but geopolitical experts aren't looking at this as some grand peace summit. They see it as the silent, deliberate drawing of global battle lines. You've got smiles on the outside, sure, but a fierce power struggle on the inside. Basically, the world's two heaviest heavyweights stepped into the ring, hiding incredibly intense negotiations and ultimatums behind a very thin veil of public diplomacy. Moving to Section 2, Domino 1, Flashpoint Taiwan and the military threat. When we shift our focus from those meeting rooms over to the contested waters of the Pacific, this whole theoretical power struggle gets very real, very fast. One wrong step could invite war. That is a stern, uncompromising warning regarding Taiwan. It's a clear, unmistakable signal of military readiness. Neither side is backing down here, and the rhetoric has totally shifted from diplomatic caution to explicit, hard red lines. This isn't just posturing. It's a giant neon sign pointing out the extreme fragility of the peace we have right now. And here is exactly how fragile it is. Step 1, we are already seeing rising military activity in the South China Sea. Step 2, in an environment that crowded and tense, all it takes is a single tactical miscalculation or minor collision. Step 3, that accident triggers immediate superpower retaliation. And step 4, boom, we are instantly plunged into a devastating global conflict. This whole Taiwan mistake scenario really highlights how one highly localized incident could spark a world war in a matter of hours. But the real game begins here. Section 3, Domino 2, the invisible war for tech and trade. Because military might, that's really only half the equation. There is an invisible tech war raging right now. International experts actually argue that this technological and economic battlefield is just as dangerous as traditional warfare, maybe even more so. On one side, you have the US strategy. They're aggressively rolling out semiconductor restrictions, slapping on severe tariffs, and using tech bans to essentially choke off technological capabilities. On the other side, the China strategy. They're pushing back hard, accelerating Huawei's global dominance, pouring massive amounts of money into artificial intelligence expansion, and building up ironclad cyber resilience. It is a direct, head-on collision of tech and economic titans. And the fallout from this invisible war? Well, it hits all of us in the form of severe economic shockwaves. The escalation of this massive trade war brings devastating new global tariffs. It brings sharply rising cyber tensions where our digital infrastructure is targeted. And ultimately, this fight over microchips and AI codes is triggering crippling fears of a global market crash. The global economy is basically the collateral damage of this tech war. Which brings us to this sobering realization. The world sees diplomacy, but behind the scenes, a war for power is raging. Whenever you see leaders shaking hands on the evening news, keep this in mind, that public diplomacy is merely a facade covering a totally ruthless, multidimensional battle for absolute global supremacy. On to Section 4, Domino 3, Global Spillover and the Iran Crisis. This friction between Washington and Beijing doesn't just happen in a vacuum, right? It destabilizes regions halfway across the globe. The most immediate threat from that spillover is a massive oil price crisis. The conflict involving Iran is deeply exacerbated by the superpower rivalry. If the Middle East destabilizes further, because global powers are essentially using it as a proxy chessboard, it threatens to disrupt global energy supplies. A severe oil price shock could devastate economies everywhere, hitting everyday consumers right at the gas pump and driving extreme inflation. You can really see how this central US-China rivalry pulls everyone else in. Over in the Asia-Pacific, India and China face escalating border and tech tensions. Up in Europe, NATO is on high alert, navigating Russia's strategic realignment as it moves closer to Beijing. And in the Middle East, that Iran-US dynamic sits at an imminent crisis risk level. Literally every region on Earth is feeling the gravitational pull of this massive superpower collision. Finally, Section 5, the climax, a future Cold War. When you synthesize all of this together, the military threats, the tech blockades, the economic dominoes, it points to one definitive era, a future Cold War. And this isn't just about stockpiling nuclear weapons anymore. We are talking about a comprehensive global power struggle fought using artificial intelligence, relentless cyber warfare, and the pursuit of total economic dominance. Traditional military might is honestly just the backdrop now. The actual war is being fought every single second in servers, in global markets, and in research labs. And it's going to impact the daily life of every single person on this planet. So, I want to leave you with this ultimate, really provocative question. How close is the world to the breaking point? With global tensions reaching an absolute fever pitch across military, tech, and economic domains all at the exact same time, how much pressure can the international system take before something fundamentally snaps? Today, the world looks peaceful, but history has shown great wars begin long before a bullet is fired, inside closed rooms just like this. That's all for today's Explainer. The invisible war is already underway. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep watching the signs.